Well, welcome to my ninth ever horror show entertainment interview. Today I'm here with Todd Sheets, director of Bonehill Road, and a bunch of other films. Apparently, I tried to count how many that he directed that were feature length, and it says 30. It came up with 33, and then there's 46 altogether. Am I right on that?
Pretty close. Yeah, pretty close.
You, say hi, Todd.
Hi, how's it going, everybody?
Yeah, you've been directing movies since the 80s. Holy crap.
Yeah, since like 88 was like my first, when we started the first feature length one.
Yeah. Wow. I was like probably -5.
Yeah, let me tell you, I was young myself at the time, and everyone told us we couldn't do it and that we shouldn't even be trying to do this, but I don't listen very well, so I did it anyway.
Yeah, and that's the thing, is that back then people were always like, yeah, you can't do this, you'll never accomplish anything by doing this. Now everyone's like, go for it.
Yeah, well, it was a lot harder back then too. I mean, we didn't have all this technology readily available where, we got guys out there with cell phones that think they're Scorsese. Back in the day, it was more like, you had to scrape and get anything you could get. And sometimes it was rough because, I mean, we were borrowing cameras or, borrowing equipment or when we were kids, we didn't have even though we were working summer jobs to try to buy the stuff, we still didn't have them. I mean, a Betacam deck to edit on back then, you're talking, a couple $1,000s.
Yeah. I used to have a handheld camera, but had to stay plugged into the wall for it to work.
Oh my God, yeah.
So I couldn't go make a movie with it. It'd be stuck in one room.
That's it, yeah. And unless you had a lot of extension cord.
Yeah, so I'll start asking some questions about the Bonehill Road, because I actually haven't seen it. I haven't seen any of your other movies. I'll have to get on that because I heard about Bonehill Road and I'm like, that sounds really cool, because I remember seeing Patreons for films, or a film called Autumn Moon, and that never became anything. It was kind of similar. It was all practical effects, but they didn't get the funding they needed. So
Right.
I saw that Bonehill Road was in production, and I had a PayPal this time, so I was like, I'm donating. So I think I donated to something like $112.
That's cool.
Yeah. And so I was supposed to get a message from one of the people who worked with you on that film, about the CD, and I haven't gotten anything yet. That's
yeah.
Cool.
It takes a little bit because it's all through Indiegogo, and so that goes on a list of names. And we didn't realize how big this thing was going to get on there, because I didn't expect it to have that many contributors, but luckily it did. I'm not going to complain. It went through the roof, so it's a lot of that stuff I do by myself. Like, I'm packing these packages by myself and mailing all that stuff on my own. So yeah, it takes a little bit to do it.
Yeah, and let me get to one of the questions here. How long has it been your passion to make an all-practical werewolf movie?
Since I started, that's one of my favorite movies of all time is Lon Chaney Jr. and the Wolfman. And then, of course, at the drive-in, my first childhood memory was Night of the Living Dead. I was on a triple feature with the movie. It's about some dude that turns into a snake. It was Starbuck from Battlestar Galactica. And then the movie Boy Who Cried Werewolf. And so werewolves have been in my DNA pretty much since then. And, of course, I loved Curse of the Werewolf with Oliver Reed. And I grew up as a Famous Monsters kid, man. I grew up in a time when, the Wolfman was a pretty big deal and all that. And then, of course, we had creature features on the TV all the time. And it was just so nice. Whole different kind of vibe than what's out there today with the political correct movement. Everyone wants to ban everything. But back then, man, this stuff, Paul Naschy, Frankenstein's Bloody Terror played at the drive-in and on TV in the same month. It was crazy. And these were all, werewolf movies that inspired me. And oh my God, I wanted to make a werewolf movie so bad. But, it was like, well, yeah, earlier I didn't think I had the know-how to do it. And then now, even with Bonehill Road, we were like, how are we going to do this? Because we had full body suits. We had 5 of them. And the heads came from England, and some of the heads came from America. And the suits, when you put all the pieces together, equaled about between $35,000 and $4,000 each. and we had to have 5 of those suckers, and that shows you. I mean, we at the time we went into production, we had 13,000 raised, and we did it. And whatever didn't get put on there, of course, went on credit cards or whatever.
Yeah.
And we made it happen, man. We it was just really people's dedication, and none of us have ever taken a salary. I've been doing this all these years, never taken a single salary, because I'm like, you make a choice. Do you buy that special effect, or do you pay yourself? And I'm like, I'm going to buy the special effect, or I'm going to buy that new camera or that light or whatever I need. That's what I'm going to do. And I got a group of people here that are just so phenomenal, because nobody can do this on their own. And the cast and crew really pulled in and made this thing a reality. And the original script was even written back in like '92, but it tells you, how long I wanted to do it, but I didn't want to screw it up. So I kept telling myself, no, don't even try it. Don't even try it. But then we did it, and I'm really proud of the results, because it's a full-blown werewolf movie with lots of werewolves, and we interchange the suits and mix and match to make them, different werewolves, and we have quite a bunch of werewolf action in it, and we've got a lot of twists in it. It's not your typical werewolf movie, because, you're used to those. There's a guy, he's going to turn into a werewolf, or a girl, she's going to turn into a werewolf, or they're victims of a werewolf, or they're being followed by. I want to do something completely different. So we did.
Sounds a lot original compared to a lot of other werewolf movies that are pretty much just copies of, like of the Wolfman or American Werewolf, like trying to be horror comedies. And
Right. I
mean, I think the out of the last, I want to say 5 years, one of the best werewolf movies I saw with the practical effects and the great story was Late Phases, Night of the Lone Wolf.
Yeah, I thought that was pretty cool. Yeah, I enjoyed it.
It wasn't my favorite, but I thought the story was great and stuff. What was I going to say? Oh, so that also you answered one of my questions already. It was what was your favorite werewolf movie that is not an American Werewolf in London, The Wolfman or The Howling?
The Howling is way up there, man. It's tied for my favorite werewolf movie with American Werewolf in London, because they're two such different, diverse. Like American Werewolf had a lot of comedy, but they did it in a way that it didn't affect the horror parts. And then The Howling also had comedy, but it also handled it differently. And our movie has dark comedy in it. It's there, but not all the time. It's like certain situations. Like I hate forced comedy or like sitcom-y stuff. So it's just the situation creates kind of a chuckle because something really crazy just happened or something. But it's a dark kind of thing. And I think The Howling did that best. The sheriff is in there and he's a werewolf, but you don't know it at the time, and he's eating wolf chili, and just goofy little things like that. And there's all these little nods to other movies, and I would say those two are my absolute favorite werewolf movies. And I really like Dog Soldiers. I thought it was a neat spin, and they did something cool with the werewolves, and I thought it had and Ginger Snaps is a great movie too. And there's a point in our movie where we have a full female transformation, and not just pieces. I mean, you see this in A Brightly Lit Kitchen. And I did that on purpose because I was inspired by the fact that American Werewolf did their transformation in a brightly lit living room. And so I was like, well, I want to do ours in a brightly lit kitchen, only I want it to be a girl. And because you've never really seen a girl's full transformation like this before. And I thought this will be really cool to see a whole thing happen, not just bits and pieces, So
Yeah.
we did that, and that about killed us. We ended up shooting part of it in the Midwest and part of it in Hollywood, with Joe Castro, who's a genius, and he helped us see our vision. And Joe, by the way, he called me on the phone. Or not on the phone. He sent me a message on Facebook first, and then he said, "Hey, how's the new movie going?" And because I've known Joe for years, and I said, "Well, it's great except for the transformation, man. I'm really bumming out." And he said, "Give me a call." So then we talked on the phone. He goes, "Well, how long before this thing has to premiere?" I said, "Well, to get it edited, I'd have to have this completely done, and we'd have to have it shot and everything in 3 weeks and edit it in." He says, "All right, well, see how much the airplane tickets are, and if you can get your butt out here, we're going to do this." So Joe did this without salary. Joe did this just for the cost of materials and out of the goodness of his heart, and he had everything ready to go in 2 weeks. And I was out there with some of the team and the actress Dylan Fawn Harvey, who plays the part, and we shot extra transformation footage to go in to match what we had already started shooting, just because we didn't have the capability to do that kind of stuff here in the Midwest. And oh my God, he saved the movie. I think that scene is a standout. Everyone just applauds and screams when that comes on, and it's everything I want it to be. It's really, and for the fact that we did it with like no money, I mean, we just scraped together what we could to buy the supplies, and the rest was pure ingenuity.
Yeah, I've always wanted to go to a horror festival, but I live like in like the nowhere's where people don't really want to go to have festivals and stuff, except for maybe like Worcester. I live in Massachusetts, so it's like, oh yeah,
Gotcha.
we'll have a festival here. But yeah, I'd love to see Bonehill Road with the crowd. But I do have the movie coming in, and I'm really excited about that.
Well,
Also,
it will be there, I promise. It just takes a minute.
also, I think I saw it by we have Facebook people posting pictures of their DVDs, and I'm like, oh wow, it looks kind of cool. I looked into it. We got some people watching here too. We have let's see, we have Chop Block. These are other YouTubers and stuff. We have Chase Smith and Sandra actually mentioned a wolf or a werewolf movie that I wanted to bring up, but she already brought up, and that is Wolfen. Have you seen Wolfen?
I saw Wolfen at the theater when it was originally released, and the reason I don't always include that is, first of all, I think it's a fantastic movie, and the book, if you haven't read the book by Whitley Strieber is phenomenal. It's different than the movie. Of course it is. You know, that's what they do, but it's completely different. So it's almost like you're reading a sequel when you read the book, but it's an amazing book. And yeah, it's great. And when I'd read the book first. So when I got to the movie, because I tell you I was a werewolf kid, and I get to the movie and I'm like, it was good. I don't know if I consider it a werewolf movie because it's so amazing, and the way they do it is so amazing, and it's really got a lot of Native American symbolism and culture. But at the same time, these wolves aren't really men turning into wolves, or are they? You don't really know. And
Yeah.
spoiler alert if you haven't seen it, spoiler alert, because it's got a real question about that. Are these really men, or are these just really big supernatural wolves that have basically evolved? You know, and the Native Americans, of course, worship them as gods, which is, of course, a good thing to do, I think. In this case, they're like, 7 foot tall. Go ahead, do it. But no, they're amazing creatures, and they used real wolves in the movie, and it's brilliant. Albert Finney is just one of his best movie roles, and it's a fantastic movie. I don't always name it with werewolves because it's kind of a confusing thing. I don't know what they are.
And you can't forget to mention James Horner's awesome score in that movie.
Oh yeah. The whole movie is
Urban.
It's really put together well, and Gregory Hines is really good in it. And I was like, man, this whole cast is solid movie. And so I was like, I always loved it, and it was during the werewolf boom that thing came out. There was a lot of those movies. Even cat people kind of slid in because of the werewolf thing, because people, were so excited over the werewolf movies. They got the budget to do cat people, so they could do some cool transformations and weird stuff with Nastasi Kiski. And I saw all that stuff at the theater, which is crazy cool because, I would basically, my mom made a deal with the movie theater because I was really too young to get into these movies, but she made a deal with the manager. She signed a piece of paper that was basically a release saying that I could come up there and get any movie ticket I wanted and watch anything I wanted.
Which
led to some really strange movies, let me tell you. Everything from Chatterbox to Blazing Stewardesses to, Beast Within and Cat People, whatever was out. I went and saw it all. I just love that stuff.
Yeah, I actually have the Wolfen hardcover edition, but I haven't read it yet. I've been waiting for the right time to read it because I've heard so many great things about it. I also bought the CD. Guess how much for?
Hard telling.
Over $100.
Wow.
I was so happy.
High.
Yeah, I was so I saw that movie when I was probably 6, and it was the first werewolf or wolf type movie that I ever saw. And the first thing that hit me when I saw the movie was the soundtrack. It was like just right when Orion Pictures comes up, they have and I'm like, I'm sold.
Well, yeah. I don't know if the hardcover is the one that has the picture of like the little wolf-looking things on the front. They're like these two faces that look like wolves. Yeah, it's got a slip jacket. Oh no, it's fine. He's going to get it. That's funny. Yeah, the hardback, I remember. Oh, that was quick.
Super long.
It's kind of got it's got like a slip jacket over it.
Yep, this one.
Yeah. Let me look and see if I can see it on the video here. You're still on video, aren't you?
Yep.
I turned off mine, but yeah, let me see here. I got to open my... I was feeding the raccoon, as you know. I was afraid. I was like, I wonder what that looks like on your end. There's this monster in your face. There's the raccoon there. Let me get this open. There's so many windows. I'm learning this Hangouts thing. I've never done it before.
Yeah, that's why I made sure to ask you. But even though it was like kind of last minute, I'm like, oh, I should probably ask him just to make sure because some people.
Oh, that's the one. Yeah, that's the one I've got. See, it's got the weird little wolf creatures there.
Yep.
The face.
It's
that's a nice book.
Yeah, it's in excellent condition too. I'm so happy to have it. I also have the Halloween trilogy, a whole bunch of books. I also have the Halloween soundtrack. I think it's actually right here somewhere.
You know, the Howling books were also very different from the movies, but also very good, I thought.
Yeah, I need to read those too. Halloween
those are
soundtrack.
Good. Oh, yeah, I've got that. That's good. Pino Donaggio.
Yeah, I have the vinyl over there somewhere. Actually, that was one of my first vinyls. I found that vinyl at a little shop that was a record store, and I was like, oh my God.
Yeah, that's how I was. I got it when it was originally released on Varice Sarabande Records back in the day.
Yeah, it's always cool to hear people's stories from back in the 80s, because when I was a kid, my grandfather showed me most of these movies, but everyone else I talked to were kids. And so no one was like able to say, oh, I saw this movie last week, and like, what was it? It was like some modern movie, and what about these old ones? And then I got on YouTube and I started talking to people who were born in the 70s or 60s and were growing up in the 80s, and they're like, oh, I saw this movie back then. That's so cool, you know?
Well, it's kind of weird because I had the same situation, only I was the weird kid in school that would come in talking about movies like Don't Go in the House. And everybody else was like, oh my God, what's wrong with you? I'm talking about this movie where this guy burned everybody alive. Or The Burning. I remember going into school talking about The Burning and everyone's like mortified. And I'm like, golly, man, these movies are what got me through a lot of rough times in my childhood. Movies like Phantasm and Slithus and, Suspiria, I love Slithus, man. Come on. That's great.
I don't hate Slithus, but I think some of it could have been a little bit quicker. You know,
when you're watching that when you're 13, man, you don't care. Just like the monster scenes are so great.
I watched it when I was 20 this year. I was 24 when I watched it. So
yeah, and you've seen everything else before that, so it's a little more jaded. But when you watched that back in the day, you didn't realize there was all that scientific mumbo jumbo that took up 45 minutes of the movie. You just remember those parts of the monster.
And the mystery aspect that took up like 20 minutes. That
was. But when the monster came on screen, man, it was worth it because he was cool. You know, he was really cool.
Yeah, when I saw this, I was like, this is kind of dumb. Then the monster came on screen. I'm like, oh.
That's exactly what sold it too. Just, Humanoids from the Deep, that came out close to that time, within a few years of each other, and Humanoids from the Deep did it better. But it's still, both those movies have a special place in my heart because my second favorite monster of all time is a creature from the Black Lagoon.
Oh, that's my favorite. That's my favorite Universal monster.
It's a great monster,
yeah.
And always so cool to see new stuff pop up with him. We've got in the studio, we have a big creature that's coming out of the wall because they made this three-dimensional thing that it's supposed to I don't know where it's supposed to come out of, maybe the ground or something. But
that reminds me of his. Sorry, go ahead.
It's like a prop that they made that you could buy. And I first saw it when I was in Hollywood, and they had it out there, and I was like, I've got to find that one day. And I found a scratch and ding cell, and he had a little scrape on his head that I could easily fix with paint. And I got this $200 thing or whatever it was, $150 for $25. So I was like, I'm on it. And then we put him on the wall. Yeah,
that reminds me of. Have you ever seen Tremors 2?
I have, yeah. I've seen all those.
When he's talking to Bert. And then they pan over to his hunting wall, and he has the massive graboid on it that busted through in the first movie.
Yeah, that's sweet. That's the way you should do it.
Be subtle, but
yep. Put out the good stuff. Oh right. Man, so that is that. But yeah, the Wolfen is a good call on her part in the chat room there or whatever that is, because she's absolutely right. It's a great movie. I don't know how to classify it, unfortunately. There's a few movies out there like that. Like Fright Night Part 2. Is there a werewolf in that or not? Also, Fright Night Part 1. Would you consider that a werewolf when Evil Ed turns into the wolf monster thing? Is it a werewolf? Because technically he's a vampire. So there's all these weird... because there's a lot of great monsters out there. And, a lot of people for years hated that movie Bad Moon. I always liked it. I thought, it's not perfect, but it's fun.
Yeah, I have that Blu-ray, and that's awesome. Speaking of Blu-rays, did you know that Sylvis has a Blu-ray?
Oh, yeah, I'm all over that. My buddy owns that company, Code Red, and he hooked me up. Yeah.
I wanted to make sure because I tell people, hey, ever go to buy stuff from Ronin Flicks? They're like, where? I'm like, dude, Ronin Flicks are Code Red.
Yeah, it's the same. And Code Red has their own store too, but it's only open like every once in a while. When Bill gets a chance to fill orders, then he opens it.
Yeah, I have a bookstore like that in town. It opens like once every month.
That's cool.
Yeah, so how about another question? Let's see. Okay, so is Bonehill Road a fictional place? And if it is, what made you come up with the name?
It's a real place.
Oh, that's cool.
Hey, Lefty. It's a real. Sorry, guys. I'm talking to my raccoon. It's a real place. It's Bonehill Road is a place here in Missouri, and what made me want to call this Bonehill Road is because there used to be this old house on there, and it was abandoned, and it was like 3 stories high, and it was creepy as hell. And up in the top floor, they had a little room in the attic full of dirt, and I thought it was insulation, but it was dirt. And thought, why the hell is there all this dirt up here in the attic? It's weird. And so we kept coming up with creepy stories, and the original title was The Dark Secret of Bonehill Road, and it was kind of like what would happen if the Texas Chainsaw Massacre family were actually werewolves. But we changed all that over the years, Yeah.
That
was the original idea.
I still don't agree with the title for Texas Chainsaw Massacre. There is no massacre in that movie.
I guess maybe, I don't know, if you consider 3 people massacre, maybe. It's not, you're right, it's not a huge body count.
There was Kirk.
But I think the reason they call it massacre is because of the stories. At the beginning, you hear the radio guy, which was John Larroquette, and he's telling you about like all these things that had gone on around Texas, and all these bodies and all these graves and the people being killed. And so I think the massacre meant the entire reign of that family through that area is what I think they were going for.
I never actually thought of it that way. Yeah, it's true, because she's talking about, this has been going on for, well, he doesn't say this, but he basically means that it's been going on for years.
Right.
And so over time, it's definitely a massacre. Which stinks.
Yeah, I think that's what he meant.
Yeah, because if people ask him, if people wanted to ask Toby Hooper at conventions, they can't anymore because he passed away, which sucks.
It's true. I mean, that's the only thing I had to go by was the John Larroquette, thing, because he, when I really paid attention to what they were saying in there about, this family and everything, and how the most heinous crimes in the history and all that, I think that's why they called it the massacre, because like they were killing all these people to make food out of. I mean, it's kind of one of them things where they were using them for their barbecue and all that. So they were stripping them down and eating them. And it was based on Ed Gein and his whole thing. So just like a lot of those stories.
Yeah. Speaking of people who passed away, George A. Romero passed away, and then the year before that, I got a signature of his, and I also got Tom Savini's signature on a Dawn of the Dead Ultimate Edition. I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, that is good. That is good. But I got, there's so many of my idols, people I've looked up to that have passed away, and the one that was the most heartbreaking for me was I just met him thanks to my friend Sage Stallone, who also passed away, and Chaz Balin, who also passed away. It's like all these people have passed away that I loved, and
Charles
Sage. No, Chaz Balin.
Oh, they said Charles Band. Like, oh.
No, Chaz Balin was the author of Deep Red, and he did a bunch of like Gore Score and all these books that introduced really a lot of people. He was a writer for Gore Zone and for Fangoria, and he really introduced a lot of people to these foreign import horror films. And because of these guys, I got to meet Lucio Fulci, and
that's awesome.
We got snowed in together. A blizzard came through right at the end of the convention and snowed us all in. Some people got out, some people didn't, and he was there, and he signed my poster for House by the Cemetery, and he was amazing, and he was everything I ever wanted him to be. You know what I mean?
Is it true that is it Dario Argento or Lucio Fulci? They can't speak a lick of English. I think it's Dario Argento, isn't it?
I think they both do a little English. I know Argento. I know they both have heavy accents. Like Fulci, He could definitely speak English because he was cussing about all kinds of crazy stuff. He was very crotchety in a very funny way. Like it was done tongue in cheek. A lot of people took him serious and thought he was a mean old bastard, but he really wasn't. He was just, he just had a really wicked sense of humor, and he would like go into, tirades about, this and that. And we were watching one of his movies, and these people were like talking in the audience, and they were like saying, shushing him because he was talking about the movie, and they were turning around and saying, hey man, we're trying to watch this, you need to quiet down, old guy, and all this. And then he starts going off, fuck them. He starts just screaming. Excuse my language, I don't know if I'm supposed to cuss, but
that's fine.
He was just going off about it, and he was so funny because he goes, they don't even know what they're watching anyway. He's just going off, and it was so great. But I loved being able to hear about the movie while I'm sitting there. And the same thing I was lucky enough to happen to me was director Bill Lustig. I was at the New Beverly, and I'd been invited to come down, and I hung out there with Bill Lustig and a couple other crazy characters who I loved. Clu Gulager was there from Return of the Living Dead, and he would always come down to the New Beverly, and we were watching these. There was a night of Bill Lustig movies, so Maniac was playing and a couple other movies. And John Landis was there and all this, and it was so much fun because we were sitting in this cluster, and Bill was basically giving us a play-by-play commentary of the movie, which was really, whenever you're allowed to have a magical moment like that, I find it to be very rewarding and very inspirational, and you learn more in that short time in that theater with those directors than you will in an entire year in film school, I promise you.
Yeah, and what's sad is if like 10 years, some people do that, so happen to meet people like that and are able to have that opportunity, they'll pull out their phones and record it.
yeah, I didn't do any, like, that was the least of my, I was so in awe, and I'd known Clu for a while. Every time I go to LA, I hang out with Clu Gulager because we do the burger place. He has, he and I have the same favorite burger place, and he'll show up there about midnight, and I will too, and we'll just hang out and eat burgers. And he's just a sweet guy. I want to get him in a movie pretty bad one of these days. He's just such a good guy.
Clu Gulager?
Yeah, Clu Gulager, just such a sweetheart.
I'm thinking
his son is John.
Yeah, the guy who directed the Feast movies.
yeah, John is a really sweet guy. As a matter of fact, John was there a few times with Clu, and we talked about guys. And matter of fact, when I was filming Bonehill Road, he gave me some great advice about the heat in the suits and packing them with ice packs and doing certain things to make sure the actors were cool. Because I mean, in those suits, you got a werewolf chasing someone 10 feet. You got to take a break because they got to get half the suit off because it was 100 degrees and out in the middle of summer trying to film this stuff, and just the smallest thing has to be coordinated so perfectly between different werewolves and different actors in it, because you don't have a whole lot of time to get millions of takes because it's just really a time-consuming process. And even the lighting of it and everything, we had to learn how to do all that. Our first night of shooting werewolves, everything looked like a Showbiz Pizza or Chuck E. Cheese. Everyone was just like, I was like, this ain't gonna work. So we had to learn how to relight things just for those suits because they're made of the materials, the foam rubber and the things that they're made with absorb light differently than the human skin. So we had to learn how to make them look the way they needed to while also making the actors look the right way. It was a difficult thing, but we figured it out. It took time, and that's what he helped me with, though. He gave me some advice on a lot of that stuff, and he tried to point us in generally good directions, and it made me very happy. I was like so thankful that someone took the time to do that, because it saved me a lot of time, let me tell you.
For some reason, I thought Clu Gulager was dead, but then I looked it up and I'm like, oh, thank God he's still alive.
Yeah, he is. He's great. He's still doing it, man. He was even in a movie that Sage Stallone directed called Vic, which is not a horror film, but it's a very cool character study it's a black and white film, and it's a short film. It was really, Sage was gearing up to do a feature, and then he passed away. So I was just really upset because he's really a talented guy. I mean, he's really got a great vision, and he would have made a great horror director. And really, we have him to thank, along with Bob, his partner, because they brought things like The Beyond and Cat in the Brain and all these Italian horror films. They brought those to America and released them again. Even Cannibal Holocaust they released again, and we have them to thank for that, because those films would probably be languishing somewhere in obscurity if it wasn't for the fact that they loved them so much. And Sage particularly loved them. He got to work with Fulci, and they Fulci did effects for him on. A lot of people don't realize this, but the movie that they did over there with Stallone, and they were all in the ice, and Michael Rooker was in it, and they're, I can't remember the name of the movie. I feel so stupid because I really like the movie, but they're like,
I'll look it up.
yeah, they're over there, Sylvester Stallone, and he and Michael Rooker are these guys that are trying to save people from this situation up in the ice. They get stranded up there and all this stuff, and Sage was involved. He was working on that with them.
When did that come out?
That was a while ago. Yeah, quite a while. And I want to say it was like Avalanche or something, but that's not,
Cliffhanger.
Yeah, Cliffhanger. God dang it, Todd. I drew a blank, which is unusual for me, but I did. It's been a long day. But yeah, the Cliffhanger. And so Fulci actually was involved a little bit with that, doing some effects and stuff to help them. And so there was like a huge love about Italian horror that Sage and Sylvester Stallone, a lot of people don't realize they both have a lot of respect and love for that, for that genre of filmmaking and for the Italian filmmakers. And Sage became very close with Lucio. And so it was really neat, to see. There was a whole group of those guys in LA at the time who, I mentioned Chaz Balin, I mentioned Sage Stallone. There was, John Gulager. There was a million of guys, but also one of them you may know, Jim VanBebber, was part of that group. And there's times when you'd be over at Sage's house and you'd hear all this commotion, and Jim VanBebber will just be coming on over. He'd just walk over there halfway across LA. He'd walk over there, and one night he was coming over there with tambourines and bongos and all this, because he had been stopping at garage sales along the way picking up musical instruments. But he would come over and spend hours going through Sage's record collection, because Sage had a huge record collection, and he loved that. Jim was really into that, the 70s music and stuff that really inspired his films also. So I've always thought really a whole lot of his talent, and he's a wild man, and I've experienced some of his wilder days, and I won't carry tales. But he also is a friggin' filmmaking genius, really. Jim VanBebber is.
Yeah, I still want to see. I haven't been able to get my hands on it, but I want to see Deadbeat at Dawn so bad.
They're getting ready to re-release it.
Yeah, I heard that. I heard that it was being re-released, but a while ago, I was gonna pick up some of the other editions, and I heard that he was so pissed that they made that kind of edition for that movie.
Well, I think he was made mad because I don't know that he got his finances from those films, from those releases. But I do know that this new release is supposed to be a definitive, Blu-ray release, and it's going to be very nice.
Yeah, my friend and I were looking it up like every day at school. Like when we have our classes, we're like, okay, is it coming out yet? Damn it, because we have class.
Funny.
We have class twice a week, so we check every week.
Kitty.
So let's go to the comments really quick. We have everyone's pretty much saying hi from what I'm reading. And then he said, Violet Baker, who's been a longtime fan of my channel. I'm an 80s teenager. Best decade ever. The movies were the best.
You know what? I have to agree. Even like movies like I just watched these sitcoms and things, and not sitcoms so much, but like they weren't really sitcoms because they weren't TV shows, but they were, you know what I mean? They were teenage comedies from the 80s. I think those were written better. I mean, you had John Hughes movies hitting, and those were incredibly well written. And then even, The Wraith I watched the other day with, Charlie Sheen, and it was like, wow, man, they just don't make anything close. And even action movies from that era, I've been watching a lot of lately, getting ready for this Clownado deal. I'm trying to kind of, because it's really got that same vibe. We're trying to go for like the dialogue and things that are, kind of punchy and quick paced, and we're trying to kind of, a lot of film noir stuff from the, and they kind of brought that back in the 80s. Like film noir was a great style in black and white, but then they kind of made it color, and they started making To Live and Die in LA, and several movies like Mulholland Falls and things like that. They started bringing all these movies out, and those were kind of based on those noir movies, and a lot of the look of the 80s with that neon came from a love of noir, because they just kind of switched it up. And instead of it being like black and white, it was colorful as hell, but they still used a lot of cool shadows, and they really played with the shadows and light. And that's what we're doing with Clownado. So we're kind of going along those themes of those styles. I absolutely agree with you. And it's weird because it seems like the horror movies in the 80s had a lot more balls than they do today.
Oh, yeah. And also a lot of comedies and even horror films are greatly copying from the 80s. Now,
I agree.
Like, oh, they have no. Hollywood's pretty much out of ideas unless someone makes something original, but has no input by them.
Right, right. Well, and then even then, I enjoy modern horror films a lot, but there's sometimes I get really disappointed because everyone's like, "Oh, you got to see The Babadook because The Babadook's the most scary movie since The Exorcist," and I'm tired of hearing that because, man, I got to tell you, The Babadook was really, really well made. It was, sorry, I'm moving around. It was really well made. It was a fantastically, acted film, and it had a great story. But was it a horror movie? I don't know. It was.
Right,
Kind of it was like a domestic drama. What do you think?
I saw it once, and I saw it one other time recently, and I agree. It's more of a tale of a mother who's trying to deal with loss her overly obnoxious son, and
Yeah.
and the thought that there's something actually in the house with them it's overwhelming. It's like an overwhelming movie, really.
I thought the book was awesome, the little pop-up book thing, and I thought the ideas,
right
yeah. I mean, people love that thing. I like the one you've got better than the one in the movie because in the movie they didn't really film it very well. I couldn't see what it was, but the ones that people actually got, I'm like, oh my god, those are awesome.
Did you have one?
I did not get one, no.
It's right here.
I think the reason I didn't get it is because I was just so torn about the movie. I mean, here I am as a filmmaker loving the technique of it. But as a horror fan, I'm like shaking my head. And then they did it to me again. This movie, The Witch I liked. I thought The Witch was good. They did it to me with The Witch a little bit. But I thought The Witch was still cool, even though it was a little slow. I liked the ending. But then that one, It Happens at Night or whatever that is, the one that just came out a little bit ago. That's it, yeah. And I was like, I want to know what it is because nothing came at night except for a case of the sniffles, I think. I don't know. It was the flu. I don't know. It's like, they told me, oh, man, this is the most terrifying movie since Psycho. And I get there and I'm like, well, I don't think that's true. I didn't even think Psycho was really terrifying, but at the same time,
Did you notice for every genre they have a movie that's like, oh, it's as scary as this one, like The Exorcist or Jaws or
right.
Or anything of that genre. But there's scarier movies, I think, than Psycho and Jaws and The Exorcist. It depends on your taste, I think.
Well, when I hear someone saying, "Oh, it's the new version of Chainsaw," or it's the new, it's the equivalent of this or of that, it's the equivalent of Night of the Living Dead, or it's the equivalent of Evil Dead, I always kind of go, "Yeah, come on, let's just be realistic. Let's just say we were inspired." So when people ask me about my movies, I don't go, "Oh man, it's the modern day Howling." Are you kidding me? I would be so lucky. I say I was inspired by The Howling. I was inspired by American Werewolf. I was inspired by these movies growing up. This is not, if I could even be within one little hair of those movies, I'm going to be happy for the rest of my life. It's the fact that, I guess the hype machine is just so out of control nowadays that you don't know what to believe. And I just feel like let the movie do the talking, let people see it and let that movie, let their words do the talking for you. And then, of course, you could, get your critics that put blurbs out, and you can put those on your posters and stuff, and that's cool because they're describing your film for you. And I find that to be a lot more, for me personally, a bigger payoff than trying to hype the movie up on my own. I'm like, okay, well, this is what I was trying to do. I don't know if I achieved it, but let's see after someone watches it if that's how they feel. And then that makes me, because that's the whole reason I make movies. None of us are getting rich at this. Like I said, none of us take a salary. So we make these movies basically to, give back to the genre that saved me when I was younger. I mean, I'd have a bad day at school or I'd have a fight with the parents, and when you're a teenager, everything's always a catastrophe. I would go to the movies for a couple hours. I would forget about it. It would be gone. I wouldn't have to worry about it anymore. Exactly. It's like, how nice, these movies did that for me. And if I could do that for someone else, that's what it's about. That's giving back. And I have an absolute love of the art of filmmaking. I love it. I just love it. And when I first started, I sucked. And I know I did because I didn't know any better. I was a kid. But as you grow and you evolve as an artist, you want to do better. You want to do bigger things for people. And you want to try to, give back. And that's really why Bonehill Road happened. That's why Clownado is happening. Even though it's the most ridiculous title in the world, it's not even a comedy. It's got dark humor. But it's like a straight ahead horror film. It's like, we want to make it a wild ride, but we want to make that title so people go, oh my God. And I've had people writing to me. They're like, oh yeah, just rip off Sharknado a little bit more, put some it in there. That's a great idea. I'm like, no, man, you don't understand. This script was written 15 years ago, but the title just happened because my friend Daryl and I were talking, and Daryl would always throw out crazy titles for me. Well, why don't you make a movie called this or that? And he had Zika zombies, and I was like, that's so funny. Well, then one day he says, we ought to do a Sharknado. He goes, to hell, no, he says, I just saw Sharknado on cable. Screw that, we need to do a Clownado. And he was just joking. But I already had this script about clowns, and something in my head clicked. And I said, that title just rolls off the tongue. And it's so ludicrous and so ridiculous that it's either going to be the worst movie ever made, or we can try and make something really good out of it. So my goal is, and this is what I do with all my movies, and once you see Bonehill, you're going to see this. I like to take a person's conceived notion of what we're going to be doing, like a person's idea, and say, oh, well, this movie has to be like this. And then I like to turn that sideways and flip it upside down and then bring it back all the way around to the full circle. That's what I like to do. Like when I made a haunted house movie, that damn movie turned into a million things and then came back full circle at the end. And everyone loved it because that was my homage to Fulci. And I even had Fabio Frizzi, Lucio Fulci's composer, do the music on that film, along with Toshi, our normal Japanese composer. And he was phenomenal to work with. We're like family. I just love that guy. And it's all because I want to do something different and bring it around. So like with Bonehill Road, we did it. We made a werewolf movie that's not a werewolf movie. The werewolves aren't even the villain, but it's still a full-on werewolf movie, and you'll know what I mean when you see it. And there's lots of werewolves in it, but the way we did it is pretty cool. And then it's like with Clownado, I want to make this movie that you look at this title and you go, oh man, this is going to be just ridiculous. And don't get me wrong, like the gore is completely over the top. We're talking Dead Alive stuff. We're going to go full-blown gore like we did with Dreaming Purple Neon, which is the movie we did before Bonehill Road. That's the goriest movie I'd ever made in my life. That thing won. It went to 77 film festivals and won probably about 28 awards. That thing was so over the top and everyone loved it. This movie's closer to that one than it is Bonehill. It's more outrageous, but it's also, I'm trying to make it scary. And I'm trying to make it have a good story with good characters that you care about. Because who gives a damn? You can throw blood at all you want, but if you don't care about what's happening, then what's the point? So we're trying to do something really cool with it, and that's why we're doing the whole crowdfunding. We're trying. I never even done crowdfunding till Bonehill, and the only reason is because damn, we couldn't afford all the werewolf suits, But in this one, we got to make practical effect tornadoes. We're doing this stuff without CGI, folks. And Joe Castro is a genius, and he knows how to make tornadoes practically. So this thing can be a practical effect. It's about 6 foot tall or 7. And this thing is crazy, and we're going to do it. And we're using compositing and stuff like they used to do. And we're using visual effects like they used to do before CGI, but we're not using CGI. We're not creating this stuff in the computer. We're just using it to composite things or to, do green screens or whatever we need to do. And even then, very limited green screen, very limited. We're not doing a lot of that either. So this thing is going to blow some minds. I'm hoping, fingers crossed.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to Clownado and House of Forbidden Secrets I want to check out, as well as Dreaming Purple Neon. Especially House of Forbidden Secrets because I'm a big Fulci fan of his earlier works.
Oh yeah, I love all that stuff, man. I love it, and I think you'll get a kick out of that. We'll get you a screener for that. I know we've got one around. We'll get you a screener for that, and we'll get you one for Dreaming Purple Neon, so you can check that out because that's, like I said, that movie's the most outrageous movie, and honestly, it's one of the most outrageous movies I've damn near seen anywhere, whether it's my movie or not. And I was just like, wow, what do we? Because anytime someone comes, hey, I know how we can make this bigger. We had like the Bloodmaster 3000, we made the Bloodmaster 5000, and this thing just like rip a guy's head off. The blood flew so far, and it was just like this insane explosion of blood, and it was just like, wow, that's really pushing it. Let's keep it.
Yeah. What was I going to say? Oh, so when I was a teenager, I like you said, everything was a big crisis. So, but I've found in my 20s, I've become more of a rebel. So the weird thing is that I don't have Netflix. I don't stream or anything. If people send me screeners, I'll definitely watch them, but I collect. I collect everything I own. So
right.
So I was really happy. I was looking for Bonehill Road everywhere, and I was like, "Oh, dude, where is it?" So then I went on your Facebook page, like, There it is, Indiegogo. So I also left a link to the Indiegogo page and the Facebook page in the description below. So if you guys want to check it out, definitely check it out and support the film. Yeah, Indiegogo is the top build of those two because Facebook's important, but if you don't have Indiegogo.
Well, and that's the thing, you know, that movie's coming out through Wild Eye Releasing and several other sub-distributors that he works with, like MVD and stuff. That'll all be out in stores everywhere, and probably some of the video chains also. We're looking at around, Bonehill Road. That's going to happen around Halloween. Dreaming Purple Neon was released in November of 2017 by Unearthed Films, so that's available everywhere now. And then House of Forbidden Secrets is coming out through Unearthed, and that comes out at Halloween of this year, about the same time as Bonehill Road. And also some of my older catalog from the movies I made like in the 90s and stuff, some of those old trashy blood movies, those are all coming out again here in America through Wild Eye, and they're putting those out again in the fall also. So it's going to be a big fall for extreme entertainment, and I'm really excited, not just for myself, but for all the people that work so hard, because that's ultimately, you know, the goal is we do this so people will watch the movies. And so it's like, you know, we're really excited about the fact that you know, a whole new generation is going to be able to discover some of these films. It's really, really, really cool.
Yeah. So I'll tell you what, you can send me a screener of House of for the almost tongue-tied today, but House of the Forbidden Secrets. But I will purchase Dreaming Purple Neon right now.
Oh, cool, man. Well, I appreciate that very much. I really do.
I was actually trying to find something to make the cart go to $25 so I can get the Prime $25 free shipping. So it works out.
Dude, that's yeah. See, I know how that is exactly. I do that too.
Yeah. Let me just do this real quick. I want to finish that up and make sure.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And I know that, you know, my distributor will be really excited about it. You can't get a better distributor than the guys I've been working with in Unearthed Films. Stephen Byro, he puts out some crazy stuff. I mean, he brought before that, he brought the actual guinea pig series to America. And then, of course, he's been doing the American guinea pig stuff after that. And it's just, he does all the really extremely gross stuff. So it's a perfect home for Dreaming Purple Neon because there's so much gore in that movie. It's like, all right, we have some story, but then all of a sudden the gore starts and it never stops for the rest of the movie.
Yeah, so definitely if I don't hear it right away, definitely let me know when House of the Forbidden Secrets and Bonehill Road comes out on DVD from those two companies, and I'll purchase those too.
Well, we'll definitely keep you posted, and we'll send you the links as well, just so you'll have them, you know, so you can check it out and have some fun with it. It's kind of fun.
Yeah, plus, by the way, if people are wondering, on Amazon, Dreaming Purple Neon from Amazon directly is $19.34, and then if you don't do the $25 thing, it includes shipping, which is not a bad price considering new movies go out for $22. So.
Yeah, and it started out at $24. You know, a lot of places had it for $24, and you know,
and plus people don't seem to realize that when they have prices like that, it's sometimes because they're trying to get funding for the next project, and it has to be a certain amount so they can actually get make profit and also get money for the next project. Because if they sell the movie for $5 each, you know, it's
we would love to do that. Unfortunately, we don't get to set the price. And what they need to understand is, like, when you see that price tag for say $20, okay, then of course the people at Amazon take their cut. And then the people who got it to Amazon, the sub-distributor, MVD, takes their cut. Then it goes down to maybe a couple other places that may be in the middle of that. And if not, then it goes to my distributor. They take their cut. Then it finally comes to us when we get our cut. And out of all that money, we'll see, you know, I don't even know how much. Maybe we'll see, you know, $8. Maybe we'll see $5. It just depends. And also the cost and the manufacture of those things nowadays has gone up because everything's being pirated, and it's so hard, you know, if you're fighting all this stuff, and all the stores have been closing, you know, that used to carry DVDs are all closing down. The Blu-ray stores are closing down. Best Buy has like the worst selection ever now. They don't buy anything independent anymore. And so we're fighting, like sometimes Family Video will take them, sometimes they won't, sometimes Vintage Stocks. There's like different stores, different chains that'll take them. But you have to kind of, you know, I know Dream Purple Neon did get in Vintage Stock stores, but that's just through the Midwest here. And there was like, you know, whatever, 22 stores. It used to be you could sell to 1,000 stores or 1,500 stores, and they'd be buying them for $8 a copy, and then they could turn around and sell them to you guys for $15 a copy or whatever. But nowadays, with the piracy and the streaming and the people just stealing stuff on YouTube, it's a living nightmare to even make these things. And also with Blu-ray, I don't know if people know this, but you have to pay for a license every time you make a Blu-ray from Sony, who owns the Blu-ray license.
Oh, really?
So the first thing you pay for is a licensing fee, and it used to be $1,000 off the top. And then it went down from there. It's not that much anymore. It's about half that probably, but you still pay that on the first thing you pay is the licensing fee, and then you can pay for the duplication costs, which are also extremely expensive, unless you get like 5,000 made, and then they're like maybe $1.50 a piece. But like if you're doing 1,000 pieces or 2,000 pieces to start, they could be costing you $3 or $4 a piece for Blu-rays, and so that's why these prices are kind of high right now on some of these titles, like from Shout Factory and everybody's, because it's like they have to make sure they make enough to make put out another movie, and it's really hard because the stores are shrinking, and the collectors like yourself are keeping us alive. Really, if it wasn't for you guys, I don't even know where we'd show our movies half the time, because it's like there's no outlets anymore.
Yeah, and plus the only time I hear geese.
Yeah, geese are flying. I tell you, I'm in the woods over here.
So the only time I ever use a video, like a movie on YouTube that is on there, is to make a video, but I always make sure to purchase that movie before I use it on YouTube, so at least they're getting something. I'm not just using it for free. I'd never do that. Like if I make a fan trailer for something, I buy the movie and then I download the YouTube, and I have it both ways, and that they make their money, and I also have it on my computer. So I make sure to do that, so at least they get their cut. I don't want to be like, oh, I'm getting this for free. Cool. No.
Exactly, and I appreciate that, and everyone who's doing this appreciates that, because if not, it's let's be honest, someone pirating the Infinity Wars isn't going to hurt Disney that much. But I'm telling you what, when you're pirating my movie, it hurts us a lot, because we got to pay back investors, and we can't make enough money to do that. So then we can't make another movie, and we can't get new equipment, and we can't do anything, because we've wrapped up. Let's say, for me personally, on Dream of Purple Neon, we made that movie that the actual production budget was $3,500, believe it or not. And then we had some extra cost afterwards for like banners, and I made some copies to take to, conventions or whatever. Promotion cost us about $1,000. So we made that one for around $5,000 total, but $3,500 was production cost on it. Now that's on my credit cards. Now, if I can't pay those credit cards off, then they just keep getting maxed. I'm not going to be able to make another movie for a long time until they're paid down. So that's kind of the, especially in today's market, and $3,500 is unheard of to make a movie for that anyway. But I owned all my own equipment and everything, so we were able to do it, and we did an amazing job, I thought, for that. Now, like I said, Bonehill Road was $13,500, somewhere around there, like $13,500. But again, that was thanks to people who loved the idea, who supported the idea, and who, we put all that money toward the suits, and I think it looks amazing, what we did on that kind of money. People kept saying, Todd, you're nuts. You're never going to be able to make a werewolf movie with that money. It should have cost 10 times that, but, we did it.
Yeah, let me tell you, there's I'm trying to find what his name is. I think it's, Jacob Perret. He made a film I actually recently reviewed called Weird Fiction, and it's an anthology. And it was amazing. It was like an 80s throwback. Guess how much that cost to make?
Hard telling.
$300.
Well, there you go. See, if you own your own equipment, that's the way to do it.
Yeah, so I was really impressed with that, and it goes to show you can make movies easier, much easier now than back in the 80s, but also they paid it out of pocket. There was no investors, so.
Right. Which is probably the smartest way to go nowadays, because otherwise you can't pay anyone back.
Yeah, very true, because I was actually going to make a short film like 5 years ago, and I'm like, I have no crew. I have a phone and no effects. I'm not doing this.
Yeah, it's hard.
Yeah, I was young.
Yeah, I understand, man.
But the ambition was there. So I'm going to the comments real quick, then I'll ask a question. Actually, I'll ask a question first, just so I have like a couple more than okay. Which do you prefer, practical gore effects or practical special makeup effects? It's special effects as in the suits and the explosions and stuff, or gore. as the our core effects?
Special makeup effects. It's weird for me to answer because they kind of go together, that question.
Yeah.
I do understand the differentiation, but there's a difference between creatures and gore. I mean, I think creatures are much more difficult, and therefore, I find that there's a lot more involved in some of the sculpting and stuff. But at the same time, some of the gore effects, the realistic ones, are very difficult also. And there's artistry that goes into both, and I think they both go together because special makeup effects, let's be honest, that covers so much nowadays. And Tom Savini made a whole career out of gore effects before he did things like Fluffy for Creepshow. Before he did creatures, he was doing splatter, and it was still a makeup effect. When you're casting someone's head and you're going through all, you try to make it look real, you put the hair in. It's still an amazing amount of work, and it's still an amazing art form. So I guess my answer would be both, and I say that because I kind of feel like they're intertwined. Like, in all honesty, even though like some people's idea of gore effects is just spraying a tube on a wall, but like for us, we kind of go to great lengths to try to make it as crazy and cool as possible. And there's a lot of work that goes into it. But at the same time, some of the guys that do the gore effects with me could never sit down and sculpt a werewolf. But on the flip side of that, I know people that can sculpt a werewolf but couldn't do a gore effect. They don't understand how each of that works. So I think there's a place for both types of artists. And sometimes you'll get someone that does both, like Joe. Joe Castro is like amazing at both things. He can make a monster or he could blow some chunks out. It doesn't matter, And I honestly think that, personally speaking, I really like to see a cool monster like Pumpkinhead or any of the werewolves we mentioned, or the dinosaurs in those first couple of Jurassic Park movies that Stan Winston, that everyone swore were CGI, but we all knew they weren't. They were Stan Winston, and that kind of stuff to me is inspirational. I mean, they're bringing something to life. I mean, those dinosaurs were essentially alive, and that to me, I don't know, personally, on a personal level, is my favorite thing. Even though I think that, like I said, they both go together. I really believe that I think that those creations, those creatures, really stand the test of time.
Yeah, and plus, when you watch Jurassic Park, you can totally tell when it's CGI, when it's practical. I think the effects are really good for that time, really good for the early 2000s, really good for the 2010s. But then when we got 2015, people watched it again, and they're like, oh, I can see a little bit of a coloring issue, and then I think when Jurassic Park, The Lost World, and Jurassic Park 3 came around, they perfected a lot of the CGI, but the animatronics were always the best, much better than the CGI.
I was out in California, and I got to stand next to some of those dinosaurs and touch them, and even touching them, they feel real. It's unbelievable, and they've got tear ducts in their eyes, and these guys did something that you just don't even understand until you're standing there looking at this Triceratops, and you're going, this thing is real, man. How the hell did they do this? It's just ungodly, the amount of detail and the saliva. They have saliva glands. It's weird, man.
And the
it's
breathing.
Weird.
They do the airbags and stuff. But when you said dinosaurs, I was afraid you were going to say carnosaur.
I love carnosaur, but it's a whole different thing.
I do too, but it's a completely downgrade from Jurassic Park.
It is, but that dinosaur gets around because it was used in Dinosaur Island, and it was used in a couple other things with Wynorski did. It's so great.
He was used in Carnosaur 1, 2, 3, Raptor, Dinosaur Island.
Yep.
But then they made the Eden formula and had a new dinosaur that looked like 10 times worse.
That's Corman, though. Corman's like, hey, we have a dinosaur. Let's put it in 15 movies because that dinosaur is not going to waste.
Yeah, and plus, the Eden formula, I think, was directed by John Carl Buechler, who's very big in the effects. So I was like, what happened?
Yeah, I like him. Yeah. He's a nice guy, though.
I like the puppet they used, but it was CGI or something, but it looked like paper mache.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
You
probably had no money.
Yeah. I mean, he came off of films like Troll, Friday the 13th Part 7 in the 80s. Then he went to the 90s and did some good ones, like Watchers Reborn and stuff. Then he gets to the Eden formula, and you're like, what?
Well,
Well, I mean, we have our bad movies and our good.
My whole early catalog, I'll put in that, trash. Find a trash can, But yeah, I'm honest about it. But you know what? It's still, that guy's out there doing it and he's working, and I'm proud of people that are still. I love my friends in the business who are able to do this and keep working, like Fredo and Ray. Hell, Chris,
Yeah.
Fred's son, who does all those shark movies, just got an
Yes.
Emmy Award.
Oh, he
I mean,
did?
come on, this is amazing. Yeah, he won.
Wow.
He went to the Emmys and he won, and I was so proud of him because Chris has been a huge friend and a huge supporter of my work, and they've brought me on the set before and taught me a lot. And those guys, he and his father both, and Dave Dakota was my mentor, and of course he did some of the Puppet Master stuff and a million other movies. And all these guys, Charlie Band, these guys have all been like really supportive and helpful to me personally, and helping to answer questions and push my career. And Dave produced my first 5 movies, and I'm like, without these guys, I don't know, where I'd even be. I wouldn't even be doing this, because that was a whole different era. And they made sure that I could do it. They saw something in me, and I thank them for that, because when I look back at that stuff, I'm like, well, dang, I'm sorry, guys, I sucked. But I was a kid at the time, so you just did the best you could. But I tell you what, now, I still talk to them now. Every time I'm in Hollywood, I hang out with them, and I let them know how important they are to my life, because without them, without their guidance and their friendship, I would not even be doing this at all, really, truthfully.
Yeah, and I had 2 questions lined up, and now they're poof.
All right.
But so the damn questions. I have some of them written down, but there are 2 I had off the top of my head.
They just flew out. I just ran them away. I talk too much, man. Kick me out of here.
Shit. So let's go to another question and see if I can remember them afterwards. If the sales go well, and well, obviously word of mouth's going well, do you think Bonehill Road will get a sequel, or is there no room at the end for a sequel?
Actually, we have a story outline for a sequel that was originally actually part of that first story that I cut completely out. And because I thought there's just so much going on, it's too much. It's going to be a 3-hour movie. Let me cut this down and concentrate on this section of the story. And then I could maybe do that other section of the story if I ever do a sequel. And I've done some sequels to some of my work. A lot of it I haven't, but I think Bonehill Road is look, I got these, I'm going to be Roger Corman. I got these damn werewolf suits, and they were expensive. And so we're going to get some mileage out of these werewolf suits. So we should probably make another movie just so we can utilize these some more, because they are damn good suits. They look amazing. They look real. And I'm just like, this is what it's about. So yeah, I mean, there's definitely ideas. There's definitely potential for sequels. And we've been talking about it, because the film seems to be doing extremely well, and I think we're going to be able to do cable with it, I'm hoping, and it'll be a broad release, hopefully, because it's like I said, it's not quite as underground or as over the top gore as some of my other stuff, because I was really trying to tell an important story and concentrate on monsters, and it's gory as hell. Everyone tells me it's just as gory as my other movie, but I'm like, I personally, I don't see it that way, because I'm kind of jaded. I mean, I watch Fulci stuff, you know what I mean? But
that just reminds me of my question, but I think I got the seal. So, damn it, there it goes.
It was there for 3 seconds, and then it ran away.
Wait, what did you say before about?
I was talking about the gore quotient. It was, everyone's telling me it's a lot higher than I think it is, but I guess next to mainstream movies it might be, but it doesn't seem that.
We were saying before how like everyone has their bad movie, but like some people can't always be like Sam Raimi, like start off with Within the Woods and a couple other movies and be hit and then get hits and then get Evil Dead and shit. But where was I going with this?
Well, I think I see your point on that. I mean, we can't all start knocking them out of the park. We have to start somewhere. Yeah. And for me, I was a kid, and really my filmmaking knowledge was very limited. I'm a kid in the Midwest, and in Kansas City, of all places, who's been told his whole life he can never make movies by everybody in this town. And every time I pulled out a camera, someone would call the police on him and tell him I'm making a porno. It was ridiculous. And making movies here was like banging your head into a brick wall repeatedly. And eventually I knocked a hole in it. I don't know how, A lot of headaches later, I guess I knocked a hole in it. But, my early films got worldwide distribution, and a lot of people hide that stuff in the closet. Most filmmakers do. That early stuff that they make with their friends, it's put away. They show it at family reunions or something. I allowed mine to get distribution all over the world, and it hurt because they weren't great.
Yeah,
but there was something in them. People saw a spark in there, and they said, hey, there's something creative about these, and there's something kind of cool. This guy might do something when he gets older. So luckily.
An artist is never happy with his vision usually. Like whenever I make a fan trailer, I always scrutinize it afterwards. Like, damn it, I should have done that. I actually did one for The Shallows recently. I made a big live stream about that. It was like the best I could have done. I'm like, this is my only trailer I've ever done that actually has my seal of approval.
That's cool. That's cool.
So we have. I actually got back to the comments finally. I mentioned Violet Baker. I mentioned Sandra before. She asked about Wolfen. We have Phil's Creepy Videos, Screaming Joker Productions, Jeff Floyd. A lot of these people have been on here for a while. Tyrese Daniels, who always talks about Saw. And Channel Sundown's here. I do a lot of live streams with her. She's really cool.
That's cool.
Yeah. So we got 4 new people watching. Well, it only says 3 people are watching right now, but that's okay. We started off with like 6.
Well, there you go.
Yeah, we'll get more views later on after people are like, oh shit, we missed it.
Yeah, I know. That's how it goes.
Yeah.
That's how it goes, brother.
Yeah, so Channel Sundown asks, is this the film with Linnea Quigley? And
yes, it is. Yeah. Linnea is a good friend of mine. I've known her for 20 years, and I keep telling her every time we see each other, we're going to make a movie together. Now, I do this with people I really idolize, and she hears it from so many people, but like one of my people that I said that to a lot was Ilsa, Diane Thorne. She was, of course, Ilsa, She-Wolf of the SS, and I kept saying, we're going to make a movie together. Also, the guy from Troll 2, George Hardy, and my buddy Alan from Night of the Creeps that played the Bradster. All these people are my friends, and I would always say when I get them a budget, because I'm not going to go trying to like insult these people and not have my budget in place and everything, because I want to make sure I can offer them something to do this. I mean, even though they're my friends and they give me really, really good rates, I'm like, look, you guys, I don't use anybody. I want everyone to be rewarded for their participation, and especially when they're a part of SAG, which I've got really good standing with SAG. And when you're dealing with the Screen Actors Guild, there's a minimum you have to pay, or the actors get in trouble because they have to make their union dues and stuff. So I worked all that out, and I've got to work with everyone I promised I was going to work with up till now. Even Dolomite himself, Rudy Ray Moore, I was able to work with these people. And so with Linnea, I finally was able to pull her in. We kept running into each other more and more, and it was just meant to happen. And so I pulled her in. It was a perfect part for her. We kept her here for 4 days. We had a good time, and we're doing more stuff in the future together. I'm actually producing her documentary called Extras, which is an interesting kind of story about people who go around the country to be extras in movies at great personal expense and time and everything else. And sometimes they're never seen in the film. They're cut from the movies, but they just do it because they don't want to be in the movie as an actor or anything. They want to be an extra. That's what they do. So she's making this documentary about these amazing people. And so I'm producing that for her. And we're doing a lot of stuff together in the future too, and I'm really excited about it because she's an incredibly talented actress, and she's a sweet human being, just a really, really good human being. And so we went through so much together as friends, and I was like, let's just do this. And so Bonehill Road was it. It was a perfect moment in time where she could be here, her schedule was open, and I could make sure to take care of what she needed, and everything went perfect. And it was fantastic, and her part in the movie is so different from anything she's ever done. I mean, honestly, people see this and they're like, oh my God, we didn't know Linnea did that kind of stuff. She's like such an amazing actress. And a lot of times, she does these comedic parts where you don't know that she has this depth as an actress. And she really pulled some stuff off in this movie that was pretty amazing. So I'm like, hell yes, that was a highlight for me.
Yeah, I think the last movie I saw her in, her newest movie, I think that I've seen her in, was James Simmons or Siemens, The Barn. That was really good.
Oh yeah, I enjoyed that.
Also, Screaming Joker Productions says, I think he has to rewrite this because I don't understand what he's saying. It says, what does Kay like to hear my idea for Friday the 13th movie? And Brian, if you're interested in writing it, I'll send you my info. Ooh. So I'm just trying to make out this. So, would so I think he's asking, would you like to hear his Friday the 13th idea? And if I want to write it, he'll send me the info. Sure, dude.
Well, I'm open to it. For me, just hit me through my actual Facebook page, and then I get you my actual email, and we can go that route. It's a lot easier, and that way I have it right in front of me so I can refer to it if I need to. Like everyone always, you know how it is. I'm at Walmart and I'm getting people going, "Hey man, I got an idea for a movie." And I'm like, "Cool." And they tell me about it, and then I leave Walmart and I don't remember a damn thing that was just said because I've got so much in my head.
Sorry, I was saying that he says, would Todd like to hear my idea, and Brian, would you like to write it? I think that's what he's saying. I can't really make out what he's saying. It's like, it says, Kay would like to hear my idea. Brian, if you're interested in writing it, like not writing, RIDING. I'm trying to make out what he's saying.
I would love to write a script. It might be quieter than a car. I would do that in a minute. No,
or we could both write scripts. Yeah, we can both write scripts.
I would be totally open to anything like that. I would tell you this, though. This is something that I feel with all my heart. Instead of writing me a Friday the 13th script, write me your own script that's a slasher movie that's maybe inspired by Friday the 13th, because I'm going to be honest with you, it'll be a cold day in hell that I could ever afford to license Friday the 13th for any reason, because of the people that own it. And it's even in its own turmoil right now between New Line and this company and the Platinum Dunes, and then Paramount's supposed to be getting it back, and all these things are happening. No one even knows who owns the damn thing anymore. I would say write me a slasher script based on your feelings of Friday the 13th. Don't make it Jason. Make it something of your own. And that way, if it's something that we really love, we can actually put it in production and make that movie for you and with you, instead of something that I can't possibly make just because I'm tied up with the legalities of Friday the 13th. Yeah. And I tell that to a lot of people. I mean, a lot of people make fan movies, and that's cool, because thank God the studios have stopped suing people for doing things, because all it's doing is helping them, let's be honest. But I probably wouldn't want to make a fan movie, only because at this point, everything I'm trying to do is to move forward in the structure of Extreme Entertainment, to get every movie we make gets us a larger deal, and we move forward with our production, and we want everything to be better and stronger and faster, kind of, like the $6 Million Man. So I'm kind of like, I would love to hear your ideas, and I would love to read scripts, but just don't make them about Freddy or Jason or anything like that, because it's unrealistic, really. It's just a waste of your time, because I would say, hey, I love this story, but can you change everything in there that references Friday the 13th? And then it would just be like, man. But if you do it, like if you, from the beginning, I'm going to make this story and it's going to be really cool, and it's inspired by my love of Friday the 13th, but it's not really Friday the 13th. That's what, that'll save it. That way we could actually do something with it.
So, Screaming Joker Productions, either I will help you write the script, or if you want to write the script, it's totally up to you. But after the show, Todd, I do have a couple of ideas I can shoot at you, and we'll see what we can, round up for ideas and stuff.
I'm always open, man. I do a lot of my own writing, only because there's so many people out there that have ideas but that never follow through with me. And like there's a kid named Matt Hill. He was one of the guys that started that fan club they started the Todd Shoots fan club on Facebook for me when I was in the hospital. I had a heart attack. I've never done drugs. I've never drank. It was all genetic. Families can do that, I guess. But yeah, quadruple bypass surgery, dude. Quadruple bypass. I was in there 31 days. I thought I was going to die. And they started this fan club for me, and it was the most amazing thing. And I got from around the world, this is no joke, I got over 30,000 emails from people I never knew. It was you don't know how much that helped to save my life, because when you're in there and it's that moment of darkness and despair, and I honest to God thought, I'm never getting out of this hospital. So I was writing House of Forbidden Secrets while I was in there. I was like, this will be my last script, because I'm never getting out of here. And luckily, I got out, and the rest is history. I'd gone on hiatus a little bit to raise my kids, and one of my good friends was killed, and so I kind of just stopped making movies for a few years. And this was my comeback film, was House of Forbidden Secrets in 2012. And so, to make a long story short, Matt Hill was one of the guys that started this group, and he wrote a script based on one of my old movies called Goblin, and he wrote the remake recently, and we've been kind of going back and forth, and I send him some notes. I'm not a control freak at all. I'm really easy to work with when it comes to that, because I want it to be a vision of the writer and the director. So I just send him notes about things I know I can't do, like, oh man, we don't have the budget. We'll never have the budget for this, or or this or that. So then he changes those little things. but that's the first time I've really had anyone follow through and actually work with me on a script since forever. I mean, a lot of times I've gotten scripts from people that I liked, and this was back in the day, and they were like, yeah, and I was like, but we can do it, but we're going to have to tone it down a little because I don't have $12 million to throw into this. So then they're like, okay, and then that's the last I ever heard. So I love working with people, and I love the collaborative process. Right. It's just nowadays it's so hard because, let's be honest, like we talked earlier, everyone's got a cell phone, so they figure we can do it better ourselves. And so you hear a story and you like it and you think you might move forward, and then you never hear another thing about it, and then all of a sudden it's made somewhere else.
Yeah.
Okay, I remember that.
I'm actually going to do a screen share and show people the poster of Goblin because I think it's amazing.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, so this is the it'll tell me when it's ready. I think this is the poster for Goblin. It's on IMDb. It's with a girl screaming with a hideous green-eyed monster coming at her.
Oh, dude, that's the original. Yeah, that's an old school. That's the original movie that was awful. But Matt loves this movie for whatever reason, and he asked me, "Can I write a remake of this?" And I said, "Sure." And if it turns out decent and we like it, then we'll move forward. And he fell in love with it, and he wrote it, and now we're in pre-production on it. It's going to go forward this year, probably right after Clownado. It's going to go into production, and it's going to be cool. I think a lot of people will be surprised at the new direction, and it's a really fun slasher movie with a monster in it, and so it gets both of my favorites in there, and lots of blood and fun stuff and goofy, also, fun action scenes.
Oh, dude, he just retracted the message. But Screaming Joker Productions gave me his email and phone number, and I'll give it to you after. But he retracted it. Maybe he has to fix something he wrote. But
or he could send it to me directly. You just find me there on Facebook, Todd Sheets. There's two Todd Sheets. There's one that has a Batman, and that's actually me in the Batman. That's a Michael Keaton Batman cowl, and I do that for charity for kids. But that one is full. I can't get any more friends there hardly. So if you send it to the other one that has Paddington Bear on it, I check that every single night. And so I would definitely get it there.
Yeah, the first time
there's a reason why, Paddington Bear is my favorite movie of the year. I thought it was great.
All right. He actually sent me, it's, I'll let you know. I'll tell him to send it to you after. Or
yeah, no problem.
Right now. Yeah, you can even go to Facebook right now and send it to him. Todd Sheets, the name's in the title. But the first time I saw your thumbnail, I was like, is that the stuffed bear?
it's that movie, man. I tell you what, that's I like the first Paddington. I grew up reading those books, and but the second one, man, and everyone gave me hell. Like, you're the horror movie guy. What's wrong with you? And I'm like, listen, I'm justified because that movie won 5 British Academy Awards. Okay, so I am justified. It's an amazing film. It's the best time I'd had at the movies in many, many years. There was no one was trying to sell me underwear with Captain America on it. It was like so nice to see a movie that had no ulterior motives. All it wanted to do was entertain me, and it did it. So,
all right. So we'll do 2 more quick questions, and
okay,
so we can wrap it up because I'm sure we've probably been doing this for like 2 hours now. Let me check.
Yeah, it's about that time. I've got to get some. I got to take care of the rest of these animals over here. Jeez, they're
like
just going crazy.
Feed me. The first one is, can you praise Bonehill Road for anything besides the effects? If so, how would you go about doing it?
It's so hard, man, because I'm not one of those people that does a lot of back patting or self-congratulation. I'm just like, look, I did the best I could with what I had. I wanted to tell a good story. I think the acting is superb. I mean, for a movie of this level, I think the acting transcends all of that. I mean, a lot of times you're used to seeing some kind of like questionable acting in low budget movies, but the girls that play the lead, we have some very strong female parts in this movie. They are so phenomenal, all of them, that I mean, and you'll see this. I don't think there's a weak link in the whole film. I think that's one of the things I love about Bonehill is really concentrating on that acting. Eli DeGear's in it. And she's been in a lot of genre stuff, but she went through a lot emotionally to prepare herself for this movie. And Anna Rojas Plumberg plays her daughter. You'll be seeing a lot more of her because she is unbelievable. And these guys carry the movie. Then we had Millie Milan and Dylan Von Harvey bringing up the supporting parts. And really, if you didn't like them and believe in their characters, this movie would not have worked. So I guess for me, aside from the great monster effects and aside from some of the great action scenes and things we have in there, I would say really, really, really the acting took us to a different level. One of the things that kind of really blew my mind was I was so nervous to show this film. We showed it in Hollywood on a Friday night. We had 3 weeks to promote. We ended up selling this huge theater. It was like a 600-seat theater. We sold it 2/3 out.
Wow.
We played the movie along with Brink Stevens' short film and Juliana Brudick's short film. Those were kind of the opening films we did. Personal Demons was Brink's movie, and The Gardener was Juliana's movie. And, they had some people there too that were enjoying their films, and Joe Castro helped us promote this. And this thing took off, and we'd shown Dream of Purple Neon in Hollywood. We did really well with it. We had about 150 people. This was way more. This was like, holy cow, this theater is packed. I was nervous because a lot of my friends were there, like Kevin Tenney, who directed Night of the Demons and Witchboard, and these guys. A lot of my peers that I don't even consider peers, I consider them icons that I like are so high in the air to me. They're on this huge pedestal, and I worship at the ground that they walk on. But they considered me a peer. I mean, that is the greatest gift someone could give you, is someone that you idolize like that says, hey man, your movie blew my mind. The fact that you made this movie for that kind of money, and it's probably one of the best horror films I've seen in years. I mean, that kind of thing that people say to you and they treat you like a peer, it shatters your heart and makes it grow 50 times at the same time. It's just the most amazing feeling. And for Kevin Tenney to take us out afterwards, we went to this Star Wars bar on Hollywood Boulevard, this cantina, and it looked just like a cantina from Star Wars, and it was amazing. And Kevin bought me drinks. I don't even drink. I don't drink. He's like, you're going to drink Aunt Beru's milk or whatever that crap was, and I drank. But it was the most amazing thing because people were cheering and saluting the film, and I think it accomplished what we wanted to accomplish, which was to entertain people, to tell a good story. People said the acting in it just really blew them away, and that the statements we made in the film were solid, and it was a very well-paced, and just all these compliments about the sound design and the music. God, we had 4 composers work on this thing. The music is unbelievable. So these are the things, and if you notice, I'm not tooting my horn, I'm tooting theirs, because the people who worked on it made it what it is. Every single person is important. I think a lot of people forget that. The person carrying a light stand is just as important as the guy making the music. It just sometimes you don't notice the light stand carrying guy, but if he hadn't carried it, you would be not watching a movie because it'd be in the dark. So everyone is so important. So I guess my answer to your question, again, I'm long-winded, but my answer would be, I don't want to toot my horn, but I want to say that as a werewolf movie, I am really proud of this movie. I'm really proud of what we accomplished with damn near no money in a time when, people said we couldn't do it. I think it's a damn good movie, and it's all because of the people who poured their blood into it,
And that's a better praise than saying it's the scariest werewolf movie since The Howling.
Yeah. I mean, that's just Jesus, guys. Come on. It's not. You know what? There is no better werewolf movie probably ever going to be than The Howling or American Werewolf. Because those kind of have both bases covered on great werewolf movies. Even though there's some that get close, those movies were the pinnacle. Those guys, wow, Joe Dante and John Landis. Those guys know their stuff.
And so the last question actually pertains to you and my channel. So we talked about this before, that we were going to do a second live stream after I see the movie.
Okay.
But if you want to do 3, so then we'll do this one. We'll do one while I'm watching the movie so we can have a commentary. And then we could have one after if you want.
I would probably rather do the one after because I want you to watch the movie and concentrate on it without any interruptions. That makes sense.
Yeah, that totally makes sense. And maybe in the future we could watch it again after. I want
that immersive experience. I want you to be immersed in it so that you can see the details and so you can understand the plot twists and that way it's
Yeah, because when I watch a movie, I'm not looking for the nitpicky shit, that lighting's off, or that the character's dialogue is kind of messed up with the transition of audio. But no, I try to. My favorite things about horror movies is the effects, the atmosphere, the music, and the characters. Big time.
Yeah. And that's what I worked hard to try to make sure all worked for you. is to make
Just
sure
for me,
all of that
right?
was put together. Well, and people like you, because honestly,
Oh, yeah.
that's what horror movies are about. It's about those things that you just mentioned, and that's what you really have to, because I'm the one who does all the editing too, and the sound design and all that stuff. So I had to make sure that everything, and it's really hard because you got to put on your editor's cap and cut things that you love as a director, because they're not working with the flow of the film, and that's the hardest part. But I was an editor for years with Warner Brothers, so I was able to do that and be mean to myself and cut scenes that I said I'm never cutting that scene, and then it was gone. So
So also one thing to say is that Screaming Joker Productions does not have a Facebook because they have political differences, and he deleted his page. So is there any other way he can reach you?
yeah, you can send me, if you go to zombiebloodbath.com, that's our website. It's under construction, but you can see everything, and you can send me an email there.
Or
That's all working.
Or I could give you. I'll give you his information after if you want on Facebook.
Yeah, I could get it from you either way, and I could send him an email, whatever works. I understand his position on Facebook, but at the same time, Facebook provides us with so much promotion and the ability to market things to people that are like us, that love the stuff like we do. That's why we stay. Is basically, I'm there to promote things. I'm there to make friends that love the same stuff I do. And I don't agree with their politics either, but I will definitely say that I'm there for those reasons. I mean, it's a really invaluable tool, because part of Facebook is the most negative, horrible, heinous, terrible things. People just talking crap and being mean to each other all the time. Yeah, and I hate that. It is. But the other part of it is it's connecting people like you and I. See, if it wasn't for Facebook, I wouldn't be doing this show with you right now. And that's what happens, is there are good things, even in that situation that I don't always agree with. I do find that there's a reason to keep it, and that's so I can meet people like you. Yeah, so that's why I do it.
And I appreciate you joining us tonight. And also, I spend more time on my pages than I do my own Facebook wall.
There you go. There's a reason for that.
It's all drama.
That's right.
But when I do go on my wall, it's just to see the updates on all the pages. I try to ignore everyone else's drama.
Yeah, that's the only way to survive, brother.
Yeah. And also, one more question from the audience is from Channel Sundown. She says, good interview, and asks, she can't wait to see Bonehill Road, and when will I be able to see it? So I'll let you tell her.
It's available now through Indiegogo, because we're kind of finishing up the perks and things like that, and that's where we have it, where people make a donation, they get a copy of the movie, whichever kind you want, like Blu-ray, DVD, whatever. And then it's coming out officially to retail in the fall through Wild Eye Releasing and MVD and some of those subsidiaries that they work with. It'll be out in stores. Hopefully it'll be on some cable. It won't be on pay-per-view or streaming right away, because I want people to see this movie like the way I wanted to see it, like in a theater, it's on a theatrical tour right now. It's on a film festival tour. And that's why we're waiting till the fall, because film festivals and theaters won't take it if it's already on home video. So I would rather people see it in theaters, but I also want people to see it on DVD or Blu-ray. That way, it seems more like the kind of movie that needs to be that way. It's more old school, and I know a lot of people want to do the streaming, and it'll eventually get there, but probably not before like November or December, because it comes out first on DVD, first on Blu-ray. That's my preferred way. That way you get the packaging, you get posters, you get bumper stickers, whatever you put in there with the movie. Like if you go on Indiegogo, everyone gets a poster. They get an autographed picture of Linnea Quigley every order, things like that. So it's like that's the way to do it. It's more like an event. It's more like a thing that's an event. And I hate the thought of someone watching this movie on a cell phone. I want them to watch it on a big screen TV, some popcorn, or I wanted to watch it in a movie theater or something. I don't want them to watch this thing on a little like a cell phone, because it takes away the grand image. You can't see any of the details and all the work we put into it,
Yeah, and I have the Indiegogo page in the description below, so anyone who wants to get the perks and the DVD or Blu-ray. And apparently it's on VHS too, so that's really cool.
Yeah, there's a couple of VHS left. Yeah, it's surprising, but we did that out of requests. We did that on Dream Purple Neon. People went nuts, and they said, "Oh, we got to have this." So I said, "Okay, we'll do it." There's a lot of people that still love VHS, and we'll help them out.
Yeah, and plus the perk I got was $100. But I talked to one of, I think it was you or one of the producers, or someone who worked on
Probably
the
one of the
film,
producers. Yeah, yeah.
and they said, "Oh, we'll put together a CD for you, but yeah, you'll obviously have to pay for that too." But there's perks up to, I think, like what, $500, and it starts at 25, I think. I'm not
Yeah,
100%.
yeah. I mean, it's there's perks at every level, and
Yeah.
there's a lot of perks. You know, there were perks that are left over from like the actual production of the film, where you can.
Oh, did he cut out? Damn it! I think he cut out, dude. Oh no, you turned off your audio. There's a button on there that.
Oh, there it is. Let's try that. Is that better?
Yeah, there you
Jeez.
go.
You know what's weird is I wasn't even touching my phone. It just did it on its own.
Well, we made it through this
But
whole entire interview without a hiccup. I'm already happy about that.
yeah, it's haunted. But yeah, I mean, there's so many things on there, and there's cheap stuff, and whatever level you want to do is the level that you can do. There's like all kinds of stuff on there, and that's the only way to get it right now, just because we're trying to get the last of that stock out of here, and then we shut that down, and then it goes straight to retail later, probably around Halloween. So.
And one more thing, then I'll wrap it up. We have a request actually from Channel Sundown. You said you live in what was it, Kansas or something?
Yeah, Kansas City. Yeah.
Okay, I don't know if this is anywhere near you, but she says come screen in Texarkana.
Oh man, I'd be there in a minute. You let me know where, and we can do it. Like I said, we're screening this thing all over the place. We just set up another drive-in theater for June, which is amazing. The Starlight Drive-In, so that's exciting. We're people are always contacting me to play it there. If you know of a theater there that would like to work with us or would love to, because my thing is I don't take any proceeds of the door at all. So I do this to help theaters. So if an independent theater wants to play this movie, they can keep all the proceeds of the door. We just want to put asses in the seats and have a good time. And if I can get there, I'll come down there and we'll hang out and have a little party. It'll be fun.
And there's also one for me. I'm not sure if this is way too out of your way, but it's in Massachusetts. I'm not sure if they'll be able to do it, but they actually had a screening for a Sharknado back in 2013, so I don't know if they do this still. But it's called Blackstone Valley. I'll look into it a little bit, but if you're willing to
do it.
Yeah.
Man, I used to hang out up there quite a bit because I was really good friends with the Ghost Hunters from Sci-Fi Channel.
That's awesome.
And Jason and Grant live in Rhode Island, and so I was always up in that area. We would go to Lizzie Borden's place, and we'd hit some of the like the USS. I can't remember, Salem maybe was the ship. It's up there.
Yes, I'm thinking of the town Salem. That's also pretty close.
Yeah, it is. But I've been all up through there, and I've done a lot of promotions up there, and I've done some events for the Ghost Hunters and things, and that was a great thing. Jason and Grant really took me under their wing, and I had such a great time with that whole group of people from the Ghost Hunters show. I was there when they were filming at the Stanley Hotel, and it was just a lot of fun. There's a lot of cool stuff going on with those guys, and I missed that show because it was always so much fun to be around them, and they're good people.
Yeah, I used to watch them all the time as a kid on Sci-Fi when Sci-Fi actually had good shows.
Exactly, before it became whatever it is now. I don't know what that is.
It's Siffy, S-Y-F-Y.
That's Siffy, yeah, that's it.
So yeah, I think we should wrap it up here because you said
Sounds good.
You had to take care of your animals and stuff. So
yes, raccoons.
So I'll wrap it up here. And any last words about the movie or your future projects or anything? Or
I just urge people, if you're interested in the Clownado thing, we've only got like 7 days left on that, or maybe 8. I'd love to have some help on that through Indiegogo. You can find it on my page. Maybe you could put a link for me too. That's for the Clownado Indiegogo, and people can get to that because we really do need the help on that one. We're getting ready to do that this year, and we need all the support we can get for that. Bonehill Road's out there. You can find the pages on Facebook, or you can go to zombiebloodbath.com. That's my actual website. Also, Bonehill Road has its own website. Dreaming Purple Neon has its own website and Facebook page. All these things, man, we'd love to hear from you. We love the whole genre. We're the same as you. I mean, I am a fan first, and I was just lucky enough and really honestly happy that I was able to do this as a filmmaker as well. And I love hearing from people. So, you guys, thank you so much for the support on this show, and thank you for supporting this show, because it's shows like this that help us and that keep us going. So thank you guys. Thanks to everybody. And most of all, thank you, Brian, because it's been an honor to be on the show.
You're very welcome. And also, I wasn't totally sold on Clownado at first, but after your description, I'm gonna go crowdfund it a little. I'm gonna go to Indiegogo and probably put a little bit of money into that.
Dude, you just made my day. Thank you. I appreciate it.
So yeah, let's do the outro. Lion Brian Gatto, host of Horror Show Entertainment. Make sure to like my Facebook page and to also go check out Indiegogo and his Facebook page. The Facebook pages I put in the description below for Bonehill Road, and to leave comments and subscribe.